Hey everybody, welcome back to the Billy Club, the one and only show where we take a look at all of the adventures of Marvel's Crimson Crusaders, starting with his earliest appearances in the 1960s and making our way to today, stopping along the way for all of the news that the Hornhead feels fit to print. I'm Nico, and you guys can find me on Twitter and Instagram at NicoAction. That's NicoAction.
And I'm Tori. You can find me on Twitter at Tori_Sheehan and on Instagram at SMTory, that's Tori with an I, as well as at the Billy Club Pod on all of your socials. Nico, what are we doing today?
So we're looking at a two-parter. Yeah, DD Goes Wild. Kevo killing it with these graphics. This two-parter, Daredevil 22-23, I almost feel bad calling it a two-parter because it's really like parts 3 and 4 of the last, but not really because there's the owl thing in between. So I find myself a little disappointed maybe in these two issues. My beautiful precious Gladiators here, but I don't know, Tori. I think we both have a little bit of a hard time with these two.
It's definitely another thing that we've been talking about a lot, where they decide to split into two issues what should have been one.
Yeah.
And I continue to be kind of disappointed with the whole deal, especially, and I can't imagine how I would have felt having to go through like 6 months of these 6 issues of just being like, why is everything taking forever?
Completely. I think that one of the things that gets me the most about these issues in particular is that I don't know that it feels like anything about this two-parter has anything to do with Daredevil. It really feels like the bad guys take center stage for most of it. Maybe even Karen and Foggy get a little bit more spotlight than we're used to, but...
Yeah, it's very interesting because I think in the last one we were like, oh my God, where are Karen and Foggy? They're not even any part of this because somebody got shipped off to Owl Land really quickly. But at the same time, for this one, I'm like, there's almost too much Karen and Foggy to the detriment of like Matt's secret identity.
Yeah, and what's weird is this is like the standard Daredevil creative team. These aren't unusual creators on Daredevil, so you would think that with it being Stan Lee, Gene Colan, and the regular team of Frank Giacoa and Bill Ayers with Sam Rosen, you would just think that maybe it would be a little bit more on, but like my question then becomes, Tori, do we think it's that maybe they weren't ready to go monthly with Daredevil? I don't know, because they've been monthly for a year.
It does make me wonder how far out they were plotting these things, and so like were they just like all of a sudden they were like, hey, you get to be monthly now, and so now they're just like scrambling to go as quickly as they had been planning to? I don't know, because I also don't think extra time would really have helped these issues at
Truly.
all. Like, I actually think less time would have helped, because then they would have been like, oh no, we can't do this in 45 pages. We have to do it in 22.
And, you know, that's something that I think about a lot when we talk about these issues and we talk about these stories. And the rate of decompression is sort of different than the rate of decompression now. Yes. When we stretch a story into 6 issues now, it's for emotional beats. It's for character development on a more basic plot. But this is so many stupid steps along the way. This very month, Marvel introduced the first Spider-Man who does not have a hyphen in his name. His name is Pete Spiderman, and he's in Edge of Spider-Verse, and he is just a middle-aged spider guy. He's a spider totem, and he's Pete Spiderman, and he does not have a hyphenate in his name, and it brings up why Stan Lee ever had the hyphenate there. It's because he never wanted anybody to confuse him with Superman. Stan Lee made a lot of decisions just to make them. And that's not an insult. The man was trying to pioneer a new method of storytelling in a new era and was trying to come up with the first wave of new heroes that would stick. And I think a lot of the decisions he made were very, well, throw it at the fucking wall and see if it sticks. And they didn't all stick.
Now, do we think that maybe his better ideas got put on other titles and that this one got some of the C stuff? D stuff?
The D stuff, the double D stuff, as it were, because this is something I've talked about a lot on various versions of our show. These companies have a fiduciary responsibility in order to keep the people who make them eating. I'm not even talking about shareholders. I'm not talking about a corporate responsibility to backers. I'm talking Stan Lee wanted Gene Colan to eat that night. And so he had to make the best story he could at the time. And I think when one book makes more money than another, and you see that Spider-Man is making its way to the top of the sales, Spider-Man has to get your top of the sales money ideas, and Daredevil can stand to have a few more of your he sells a couple copies ideas.
That's fair. That's fair. Because I do have to admit, like, starting off with something called The Tri-Man Lives, to me screams like this should have been a return of a Tri-Man, not the beginning of a Tri-Man, I guess.
Yeah. I think it's like, like Frankenstein, the modern Prometheus Lives kind of thing.
Yes, yes.
But it feels very lives again by virtue of like the sort of schlocky 60s horror sort of very, we're going to the drive-in, gonna see the creature kind of era. And they sort of treat it like that.
Yes, this is very much like something where I'm like, oh, this is a Frankenfurter like plot, like on how to make a new man.
And amazing job with Kevo pulling up the images as always. It's so great having a producer on this show. Makes it so possible to talk about these stories. The first page that we had open initially, they look great on this scan, but the Marvel Unlimited has been polished a little bit more to be a little bit higher quality. That's something that I think actually makes these books a little bit easier to read when you're looking at a really enhanced version. Like this one, it's a lot more vibrant. It's a lot fuller because these first few pages, it sort of feels like I can't believe that he's still fighting the fucking owl from last time. It's just crazy to me that he's got these big blocky figures. It just doesn't feel like the most polished it's ever been. It isn't until page 4 where that incredible Daredevil on the statue image comes into play, though I cannot figure out what the fuck statue Daredevil is standing on that looks like that.
It's tough, there's a lot of choices in New York City architecture, and it's possible that something like this existed out there, and now it doesn't, but it's also highly possible that it still does. So it's tough. It's tough. But I'm glad he has something fun to hold on to, some kind of headgear idea.
Speaking of things to hold on to, this sequence on these 2 pages give me some real Foggy to hold on to. And that Foggy sucks. The whole, let's go to dinner, honey, and she's like, and he's like, should have done it a lot faster if I were Matt Murdock. And then he's like, I like clients that pay their bills on time. And like, yeah, no, don't get me wrong. I have a job. I want to get paid on time too. But that these are the only thoughts they give him?
This is also the thing where I suddenly noticed where I was like, is this the same landlord that they had when Karen was fainting about rent? Because he feels like a lot more like hyper focused in on this, to the point where I honestly thought that this was where who the Tri-Man was going to be.
Yeah, I get that.
Landlord guy. Because that's usually where our like weird red herrings show up, is in the first 4 pages.
I don't remember if this guy ultimately is the Masked Marauder or not.
Oh, do we not know who that is?
I think we don't know who he is yet.
Right, we know who the organizer is.
And then
so confused with their little faces, lack of faces.
Well, because they're all so generic. Like, this was not getting the Scorpion, the Kingpin. Kingpin appears in, I think it's Spider-Man 48 through 50 initially. I think we're getting close to that.
We're getting close. Right? They say in 43 we are currently now, because the Rhino has gotten out. And we haven't seen the Rhino in Daredevil, though. He's just a client?
I think he's also a big enough name, and I would believe it if you told me that there was a Daredevil or Matt Murdock appearance in an issue of Spider-Man where he was like, I'm the Rhino's lawyer. And we skipped it because we've kind of decided that, like, you know what? I'm ready to throw my headphones off and walk out of the image, because that issue that we read where Daredevil was in like 3 pages of it, I was like, never the fuck again. So, like...
The one little bouncing head that's like, yeah. I can't believe Spider-Man's a louse.
No more fucking single panel appearances, guys. I'm not doing that to you. We can't do it to you. It's not fair. We'll talk about them for a minute, but that is not an episode.
No, we're not doing it to you anymore. I do love how we get a callback to Daredevil's ability to fly aircraft without knowing what the fuck he's doing. Just, balancing.
I mean, cool. Most pilots learn on one plane, and when that plane is retired, they ultimately have to either learn a new flight system or like go into flight training. But instead, Daredevil can fly anything, including a giant exploding owl. Then he's like, oh, I hear there's a time bomb. I just want to be like, Matt, get your dick together. This is out of control.
I mean, it's a very pretty bird, but like, Jesus Christ. And also, like, my big thing was there was no like real suspense to it. It was like, tick, tick, tick. What's that? Owl, I have a bomb. Daredevil's like, it's a bomb. And then
boom.
That's it. No like suspense. No like, will he, won't he? Oh my goodness.
Nothing. And I don't know why, but suddenly Judge Lewis looks like Rosie O'Donnell meets Roger Ebert in this panel. And I don't know who decided that he looks different all of a sudden. Speaking of looks different, is that Karen Page a little bit further down?
So Karen is looking very mid-60s now. It feels like Gene Colan maybe like has a teenage daughter or something, because all of a sudden the 60s have hit Karen, and it's great. I love that beautiful. For her. I love the nude nail, the nude lip. I love the simplified, the hair longer but still flipped. Like, she's looking jazzy these days. I like it for her because it's so stupid. But if we're imagining that these are all people and they all have their own internality, even if she's not Daredevil, she has that internalism. And that internalism for Karen Page here says to me, amidst all of this going wrong, not, I got new hair, so I'm a new lady. No, it says I took control of something that I could, because this world around me I can't control anymore. So let me control who I am, what I look like, and let me tell the world who Karen Page is before they even know what hit them. And like, that's a read for her that like, it just swells in my chest. That's like Ann Nesenti's Karen in like a single moment, and it makes me so happy. And I'm so glad you're giving that to her, because honestly, all I thought was they found the new hot girl in the 60s. She's not like late 50s Karen anymore. Like, now she's 60s Karen.
Yeah.
60s Barbie is here. Yay.
And
so, yeah.
And it's just so nice. I'm just happy for her. I don't know. You've made me love Karen more over time. I am so much softer on her than I ever used to be. I used to not be the world's biggest Karen fan, you know.
Hard because like there's so much there that you can like latch onto and kind of like weave subtext and intertext into there until like you reach like 10 issues of it, and then you just go, no, she's just a Barbie doll that men are putting words into, and it's just, that's all that it is. It's just her like wafting in and out as something for the men to look at and think thought bubbles about, and to remind us how blind he is. Because it's always like she can't get 2 thought bubbles in without being like, but his blindness.
Because like, I'm starting to think if he's blind, she's got repeater's disease because she can only think the same 3 fucking things.
She's obsessive. It's true.
I want to jump to page number 6 for a moment, a little bit earlier on, because one of the things that this 2-parter had was an excessive number of splash pages. There were like 6 splash pages in 3 issues, which is way, way, way too many. But my favorite thing in the world is that it does not look like he's walking through curtains. It looks like he's walking past Doctor Doom.
See, and I spent my whole time being like, okay, yeah, he's hopping in off the ledge. Like, normally he like swoops in like a gymnast. But I was more concerned with the fact of the giant bomb he drops in here, which is, I'm going to tell her how I feel. And I'm like, whoa.
We don't even know how you feel, bro. I also think it's the same building.
He's great. Matt is a mess. And as a person who wishes Foggy Nelson would man up and figure out how his dick works, I'm actually concerned for Foggy Nelson's ego right now, because once Matt tells Karen how he feels, like, that is that, sir.
That's that.
That is that.
That partnership is probably in danger. That friendship is in danger. And there's 750 issues of Daredevil. So whatever, it's going to be in danger, and it's going to get better, or it's not. But it's kind of a repeated beat over and over again that it's so close to that precipice. Mm-hmm. My fear is him stepping too far into it. And it's so funny because I know how it goes. So I'm not like, this is going to get real Game of Thronesy. I worry for Foggy because I'm so lucky that the voices on X's for podcast are so brilliant, and we have an incredible voice, B-Way Jackson. B-Way one time said that there's a lot of white men in comics who represent a generation of white men who were told to be better but never given a single good white role model to look to. And since they have trouble looking to any other color role model, perhaps it's of note that we should have more positive fictionalized versions of these characters so we can say, no, that's what a good one is. Stop being bad.
Mhm.
And Foggy doesn't have that.
He does
There's
not.
superheroes, and then there's every other fucking schmuck in the
And
Marvel
he also,
universe.
he's on the fence on whether or not he likes superheroes.
Right, which is such a huge thing at the dawn of the Age of Marvels. That's such a telling. You could be a J. Jonah, or you can be Ant-Man and think that nice Spider-Man. Like, those are the two choices.
Yep. He's living in this world where he's like, I just think that they're chumps. Why are they always wearing masks? Why can't they stand up and tell us who they're about? But also, pretty cool how they always get the girl.
Yo, learn to match your tie to your fucking suit, and then we'll talk, Foggist.
He matched his tie to his girl.
Ah, that's pretty hot. She didn't know, though, so that makes it kind of like smelling her hair with clothing.
He just has a whole rainbow of ties and suits, and he scopes her out through the window, and then he's like, okay.
Speaking of baller looks, on page number 7, we finally get the Masked Marauder and the Gladiator together, and I'm just going to say it. I am gay for Gladiator. I cannot get over it. But it's just, he's so hot. And like the fucking, like, first of all, he looks like a primary color version of Tom of Finland with a little bit more S&M in there, and, you know, what gay Dom hasn't, you know, fancied himself a Gladiator of Finland at some point. And his costume even repeatedly points to his dick in the front and the back. I love him. First of all, who Gladiator becomes is a deeply sick individual who deserves all of our love.
Yes.
And all of our forgiveness and all of our understanding. And the character of Gladiator is ultimately a hero.
Yes.
And
I would say this, Melvin is. We're
yes.
not Melvin yet. We're not Melvin yet.
Melvin Potter, and then his portrayal in the TV show was great. I am such a fan of this character. The dialogue here is unfucking recognizable. This is not him at all. The voice is weird. The accent is weird. It doesn't even feel in line with who he was several issues ago.
Right.
I'm so protective of this character and so not cool with this particular portrayal.
So the last time that we saw these two together, we were actually drawing a lot of parallels of Daredevil and Foggy and how they were doing this thing. Now, in this issue, it is literally just all I sat there going was, this is Pinky in the Brain.
Yeah.
This is Pinky in the Brain.
It's genius and Lackey.
It really is. And
so
Lackey, who thinks that, like, if you just shut up, maybe I could punch him and then I'd be in charge. Like, neither of them understand how they are both really, really bad at their jobs.
Yes, and it's because Melvin isn't meant for a life of crime. And Melvin isn't meant for a life of crime. He is meant to be a protector, and that's why he makes armor for people. And, like, I am just so fiercely, ferociously defensive of this character. The fact that the fucking Masked Marauder's plan is put a dude in a tube, put another dude in a tube, and then put a third dude in it. Okay, this guy can teleport people using giant light fixtures.
That was the other thing when they were like, he's got a laser ray or whatever. And I was just like, oh, cool. So, like, he's going to have dudes that, like, walk up and go, pew, 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 pew. But no, like, he has infiltrated the electrical system, and, like, any lamp that he so chooses can be part of his, like, moving ray thing.
I don't get it.
I was like, you could do so much more. You could steal all the money in the world. You could traffic as many humans as you possibly wanted to.
You could steal the armor off of Iron Man.
The drugs, the armor, the guns, the anything.
Speaking of weird fights, page 13 kicks off with those two beautiful men punching each other. I love seeing these two beautiful men punch each other, but this is one of those situations where nobody was thinking when they made the book.
Fluff. But also, like, for all these thought bubbles about Karen, how are you? I hope she's okay and in love with me. I'm fine, Matt. I hope he realizes I'm not fine because he's not in love with me. Where's the thought bubble that is like, much like my father walked into the ring one last time, today I walk into a ring for the first time in the name of justice. Where is it?
Well, but they have room to give you an arrow in case you can't tell from the second to last panel that you go to the last panel. On the plus side, Tri-Man's backside is 3 thumbs up.
I was very impressed. Like, once Tri-Man got in the ring and was amongst all the colors, I was like, this stark white with the light blue accents.
Phenomenal.
Fantastic. I was like, it's otherworldly. It's outstanding in its field. Like, it is a really good look, and like, I can see why Vision stole it.
Yeah, the Arcus Vision in particular. Yeah, agreed. I also think that this is the first time I ever was like, holy shit, the shading on Daredevil's costume is insane. Like, there are some panels here where this team is channeling artists who won't be big for 20 years with the shading. It is masterful the way they manage to blend shadow. Some of Matt's facial work is so good. That giant splash right there. Oh my God, the quality. Like, I would not be shocked if you told me that giant splash was part of where Ridley Scott got the visualization for the engineers from Prometheus. There is such physical power there and such immensity, and like you said, conveyed through this starkness. And to point out that the shading work is done through line work here. This is such a delicate way to get color and to get depth. It's incredible what these creators were doing without the aid of a Wacom.
Yeah, I was gonna say, this ain't digital, sweetheart.
Yeah.
This is me and my little pen and the burp, 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 burp. Oh, I fucked up. Try it again.
Try it again. You know, so much respect for these creators. And then I even feel like there's places like on page 19, there's this panel of Karen that I think is actually kind of haunting. She really looks frightened in a way that I don't think they always capture with women.
The best Karen ever looks is when she's fucking terrified.
Yes.
Every single goddamn time, if Karen is out of her mind with fear, she looks like a fucking Hitchcock poster.
Oh, what a great way to put it. What a great way to put it. I really could not agree more.
And it makes me wonder, like, if they were like, oh, you know, we'll just draw a generic girl. And they're like, oh, but we want to draw her really scary. Like, let's pull up a frame of Tippi Hedren. Like, let's go.
Right? Hey, they were just looking at some birds.
The birds were right there. I had 2 big what the fuck moments for this thing. The first one is smaller because it's when they reveal that their office is on Madison Avenue, which, if you are not local to the New York City area, is on the east side, probably Midtown East, which is literally across the island from a little place called Hell's Kitchen.
And if I may...
And yes, and
how the fuck
money.
Madison?
Money.
How are they parking their ass on Madison?
When they talk about Mad Men, they're talking about Madison Avenue advertising men. And so when you think of Don Draper and Roger Sterling in those suits and with that hair and the gals looking good and the parties they're throwing and like everybody looking to the T, that's where Matt and Foggy and Karen are hanging out.
Front?
I guess. So like this retcon back to Hell's Kitchen can't come soon enough because this is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous to think about.
Yes.
And also, like, how is he supposed to be the devil of Hell's Kitchen if he's always slinging in and out of Madison Avenue?
The things we see happen with Daredevil. What part of Madison Avenue has a seedy pier?
None of it.
What part of Madison Avenue are you flying a plane down, Tori?
I mean, in fairness, Alphabet City's a little further south and to the east, so like there is a seedy side to the east side. But in general,
but it's 4 blocks.
East and the upper and the Upper East Side have always been big bank.
And even now, the seedy side is kind of boho chic seedy.
Oh yeah, no, Alphabet City is not what it was.
No, it is what brings a mogul in his own mind to the Life Cafe? Money. So
big bank. Big bank. And the other big what the fuck is, I want to know why we kept Foggy's suit. His Daredevil suit. Why did we keep it? What are we interested in? Because also in this lovely panel that Kevin actually has pulled up, he tells Karen to dress in something pugilistic, which for those of you who did not do Wild Party in your senior year of college means boxing.
We have the same frame of reference. I have to go.
It means boxing. So he's like, why don't you put on your little gold shorts and a pair of red gloves and meet me at Madison Square Garden?
Wait, was it the Lechusa or the Lipa for you?
We did the Idina Menzel one, so that's Lipa. Okay. But a small black box the year before had done the Lechusa.
I love both, so certainly no judgment. But they're both so good.
It's a musical, kids.
Oh yeah, it's a musical based on a collection of character stories
from a long poem.
Yeah, that it's and they both hit Broadway and off Broadway at the same time, and there's so much in that giant work that they don't even have some of the same characters.
They don't.
It's incredible.
But it is a really fun place to watch how Idina goes from Rent to Wild Party to Wicked, and you can really feel the nodules building on her vocal cords.
You know what? I'm just gonna throw in that couple of months of Aida.
Ooh, yeah, that'll do it. That'll do it.
Maybe we should learn to let it go, because we are not over the moon.
Anyway, what we're trying to say is, I guess Foggy's a secret, role-playing kinkster, because they kept around his version of the Daredevil suit, which I cannot imagine has the same kind of, protective weave to it as Matt's actual outfit. So we also have to remember that once Matt steps into the ring, he's not in his actual Daredevil outfit. He is in a knockoff. Which I am concerned a little.
But a little boxers don't go in giant suits. They go in little trunks.
Little trunks. So why do we have it? Why does Matt know that we have it? Why does he say, let's put it on me?
Because they're the same size.
Right. So this also shouldn't be skin tight to Mr. Murdock, because admittedly, Foggy's a different shape.
Well, okay. When Matt was flying the plane, he saw down with his radar that Foggy had a Daredevil suit that he gave the tailor to get alterations on, but the tailor read the wrong numbers or did it in centimeters instead of inches or whatever, and so the tailoring fits Daredevil. Matt.
And then Karen, as opposed to saying, no, I'm not fucking driving you, you dipshit. you, for all of her, he's blind and helpless. She goes, oh, I guess this is a good idea.
She stresses me out.
She is so horny for danger. It is
so horny for danger.
Unbelievable.
She's trying to walk across a Lego room, just bare feet. She doesn't care what happens. Her feet are gonna bleed forever. She's down with that. I'm sure there's a website for that.
This girl is she is the first girl and possibly the final girl, let's be honest, in a horror movie.
Yes. I would literally watch an entire horror movie of Deborah Ann Wall by herself trying to escape frightening situations, and she's literally the only person in the whole film. I would watch that in an instant. I think Deborah Ann Wall, she could read the phone book with great conviction. I would listen to her read the ingredients on a packet of ramen. But
I think there's a way to edit True Blood into that with her scenes. I think you could do it.
Oh my God, I have a new dream. I just feel like sometimes it takes that sort of infusion. It's that line from Why the Caged Bird Sings. It takes the infusion of the human voice to bring writing to life. And I think that's just so true in Karen's case. It really takes the infusion of a human voice to bring her to life out of this.
I definitely think that it takes the inclusion of a woman's voice to bring
yeah.
a lady to life. I think that's very important. I was deeply confused as to why Karen decided to go along on this little mischief-making scheme. Why she felt that Matt Murdock was such a great lawyer that he could talk his way out of a psychopath.
Overestimated belief in higher education.
And I will say, in the beginning, it does look like he has the upper hand. And this is a good fight. I did write down, like, for all that I was like, yeah, pages 15 through 20, yeah. But it is a good fight. Like, it's a good, solid fight.
And you know what? When the next issue starts, I'm still with the good, solid fight. I love those first two splash pages, even though, reasonably speaking, neither one should exist. These are such chunky splash pages, but I love that on the cover we have Matt's ass up in the air, and then on the first page we have the Tri-Man's ass up in the air, and then the Tri-Man's ass is up in the air again on the next page, but Matt's like also looking up at whatever's coming for their asses. I really love it.
I love it, but I'm also very bewildered of the fact that over the loudspeaker comes, "Hey, Daredevil, there's a lawyer and his secretary here. Give it up." And he's like, "Oh, shit, there's a lawyer and a secretary here. I better fucking stop." Like people, like Karen comes very close to figuring it out in this episode, and only her, like, deeply ingrained ableism keeps her from seeing it. But everybody else, you can't tell me that in the entirety of Madison Square Garden, which I recognize is not as big as it is now, there is nobody who goes, "Nelson and Murdock. And Nelson's here, and the girl they always work with is here, and he's real concerned about them? Where's Murdock? Why is he so concerned?
Where is Lawyer Man?"
And, why does he drop everything for those two people? Am I not worth it? I'm a lawyer. My girl is here. She used to be my secretary till I left my wife to make her my second wife. Like, what? How does nobody go, I have questions?
It is one of the things that becomes one of the biggest punchlines of Daredevil ongoingly. How stupid the world must be that they don't connect that as soon as Matt Murdock does the case, Daredevil hits the guy.
Are we going to cover the letters page on both of these issues?
Oh, I think we may. We may.
Good, because the Marvel Unlimited version has pages. Has both of them, and I had a lot of thoughts and would love your thoughts. So we'll get back to that.
Oh, because we definitely will. Maybe we'll just do a letters special.
Ooh, I love doing extra things where I have to do less work for them.
Same. Because guys, for real, we love making this, but there are times the reading challenges what we love about this. So this idea that there's more to be done, it's never a problem breaking episodes apart and having more to talk about. That's always so exciting. I think the bigger problem is when we discredit things worth discussing. One of the truths is the three criminals, the Brain, the Dancer, and the Mangler. Dancer. Yeah, the three guys that get combined into making the Tri-Man, as soon as they're kidnapped, I guess just decide to go along with it, because then when Daredevil breaks them out, they begin fighting him.
Well, in fairness, the Masked Marauder is screaming, "I will give you as much money as you could possibly want."
But he just kidnapped you. Don't trust the fucker.
Well, I mean, in fairness, the Mangler does not seem smart. The Dancer seems very money motivated. And the Brain is told, "Whatever you want, I will get it for you." So, and there's honor amongst thieves, I hear.
I gotta be honest, the Mangler's body is so insane on page 8. His back is so intense. And I specifically only want to comment on that because the musculature on these books was frequently less than anatomically in depth, less than anatomically powerful. And we're really beginning to see some changes from the sort of formlessness of the giant red suit to a lot more muscular detail in the red suit. We're noticing that even robots have like ass muscles, and like, that's a little silly, but it's also really indicative of how these creators were trying to further their industry and further their art at the same time. You make a funny book, nobody calls you Kandinsky, but down the line the next Kandinsky is going to have been affected by these funny books. So
I will also say that, as we have noticed that Daredevil becomes progressively stronger when he's up against strong heroes, I will say that the more muscled his villains are, the more jacked he gets. So I do think that is also part of it. But the more times we see him being jacked, whenever they go back to look at their references, they see more jacked images. And so therefore he's starting to
exponentially jacked.
Better. Yes. I was very interested in the fact that we got 2 recap pages.
Was wild.
That said basically the same thing as the last page of the previous one, which I guess is more noticeable reading them back to back as opposed to when it was just you had one and then you had 4 weeks and you had another.
I want to thank Kevo for zooming in on this. Stan Lee literally even says we couldn't pick which image to use, so we used both.
Yeah, Stan's been really killing me with the notes these 2 issues.
Yeah, there's still an editorial edict to not do this because
there was one where I was just like, Stan, I need you to put the pen down.
Was it Batang?
Was
the second N in Batang is silent? You know what? I'm going to say the N in Stan Lee is silent. Stale, okay? Like,
Sam Rosen worked really hard on that second N in Batang.
I
don't think that you should do that to him.
He didn't say this N invisible. Sam Rosen said this N is here. So ridiculous that
the second N is the one that like he's bouncing off of. He's batanging off of.
Thank you. It's so ridiculous that he just gunned for that letter. So unfair. I think one of the things that this issue has that I appreciate is a lot of fluid moving action. I get very tired when these issues kind of drag on, especially the second part of a 2-parter. Happens a lot in Daredevil. But this issue starts a habit of something I don't care for, which is quickly swap out the bad guy for a lion. And I wish this wasn't a trope in Daredevil. But like on page 18...
Now, hold on 1 second. The guy's name is Gladiator. They're going to a coliseum. What the fuck else is supposed to be there? I'm also very sorry, though, that it turns into a trope, but I feel like in this particular instance, fine. If we're gonna jump a shark, it might as well be a lion.
Okay, I will agree. Jumping the shark into a lion is the best joke ever, but it is so weird that Daredevil has to keep fighting big jungle cats.
Well, they're smart and sinewy and, bad at seeing things.
Are they available in New York?
I'm waiting for the day when the New York Public Library lions come to life and he has to fight them.
Yes, fine. I could see it happening. All said and done, this issue just sort of screams to a halt, though. Like, it just ends, like, really suddenly in a dramatic way. And, like, I don't know. I like a lot of this, but it just ends.
So we get more of the magia.
The magia, yeah.
The magia, okay. Are they magic, or is it just them being weird?
Nah, they're just really Italian.
They're just really Italian, and they were once owned by the Nefario one that got beat up by the X-Men. Okay, so they're looking for a leader. Yeah, so they're looking for a leader. They're a crime junkies, and so Masked Marauder's like, I want to own you. I want to be a part of you, right? I want to get that good Italian money in your castle in Italy. And so he builds up this whole idea, and then he's like, quick change. I'm not going to give you just Daredevil. I'm going to give you Daredevil and Gladiator. And the entire time, this crime family is like, whoa, Daredevil? Whoa, Gladiator? Whoa, this guy must be the top of the top. And I'm just like, are there not an Iron Man? Is there not a Thor? Like,
have you
around
America?
Like, love my horned heads, but I don't think Daredevil is even like Spider-Man famous. Like, why is everyone suddenly like, whoa, Daredevil? Whoa.
Because it's his book.
I know. And I know
That's-
we've had this conversation before.
It just gets so blind to itself. I agree with you. It only has internal validity. It doesn't have intra-title validity, and that weakens the efficacy of the storytelling, because when something happened in Spider-Man, everybody got it. When something happens in Daredevil, that happened.
And so, like, I'm just so fascinated that they're just like, ooh, ah. And then, like, they fight, the cat gets out, Daredevil puts the cat back, he puts the cat back in the bag, and then he turns around, like, ready to be like, okay, fine, one more. Come on, Gladiator. And Gladiator goes, no, I'm good, bro. Thank you for the lion. Thank you. And then the mafia's like, hey, Gladiator, you want a job? Because fuck this Masked Marauder guy. He said you would both die and you didn't. So you, though, you're still alive. Why don't you come with us? We'll train you up a little. And he goes, sure, I love Italian fabrics. And then...
That's the best read on that ever.
And then Masked Marauder's like, damn you! And throws things. And then they're like, all right, anybody want to go, like, catch Daredevil? And they're like, no. And they're like, okay, buddy, you can go. And so he's like, I guess I'm gonna go home, guys, with no money and no clothes.
I don't know. It just ends. Like, and that's one of the things that gets me the most about it. I feel like Daredevil villains are never thought out enough that defeating them matters. So as long as it ends, we're good.
Okay, how could we have fixed this?
I think the key element is, number one, the fact that it's at a boxing match quickly gets forgotten. I think number two, it's too many villains who are supposedly working at odds, but also together, and that loses sight of the narrative. If there was some way in which Masked Marauder was focusing on Daredevil, the Magia were focusing on Foggy, and Gladiator were focusing on Karen, I could try and find a way to make these three pieces work, but you're trying to pack an extra large man into a medium shirt, and it doesn't fit because these characters are too big. They're too dynamic. They're too powerful. Like, I don't mean like strong, but I mean like powerful. And you need to disengage some of that power for it to fit without a lot of it feeling silly and overblown.
Yeah. I mean, it's possible that they heard some of the criticism that from their last two parters that the second one is really the one that's bloated for no good reason, because they seem to not understand where the halfway point is. They only understand where the end of Act 2 of 3 acts is. So I do gotta hand it to them that they made the second one exciting, but it was still not the right way to go about it. I actually think that we should have simplified a lot smaller, where it was like using the transporter ray to like start stealing shit, and Gladiator's there to make sure that nobody fucks with things. And so he has his fights with Daredevil in the beginning and then gets knocked out of the way. But then Masked Marauder's like, fuck, I need a new muscle guy. Brings on the Tri-Man. And then I don't know, the Magia are watching this whole thing happen and are like, you know what? If you can pull this off, we'll give you the blah, blah, blah.
The blah, blah, blah. I'm with you.
And then we can go to Rome. But I just feel like it's just so much going on. And then the fact that, like, we get to the end of this two-parter and Matt hasn't even told Karen how he feels.
No, in fact, that, like, it winds up running into next issue, and then next issue does some stuff, and, like, we're on a weird trajectory for the next couple of issues, as a matter of fact.
Yeah,
next issue
in a different country, and that's never good for Matt. He always takes 8 issues to come home.
Speaking of coming home, Kazar is in the next one.
No, we brought him up, and I was like, why are we talking about him? No.
Number 24 features Kazar, and I think that'll be a really great place to look at a lot of letters pages, because it's a shorter issue, and it mostly follows up on the Plunder storyline, and Tori, we will want a clear slate to enjoy 25.
Okay.
Tori, our favorite character, shows up.
I forgot!
At issue 25, we get Mike Murdock.
It's here!
It's finally here.
Oh my God.
So I'm really excited. His swinging twin brother. It's right there on the cover. It means everything to me. I'm so excited. So I think for 24, we should look at 24, do a wrap up on those letters pages before it, and then we're gonna fucking roll right on to 25.
I just. Oh no! Oh yeah, twin brother. There he is. Oh god,
There he
I'm
is.
so amped. I'm so amped.
So fucking
'Cause 'cause
excited.
I read some of these letters and I was like, bros, this is a lot.
Oh my god. Now, I mean, all said and done, before we get to the excitement that is Mike Murdock, and one of the things that I think truly cemented our friendship forever, Mike Murdock, I would give this two-parter a C. It is not the worst thing we've read for this show. It's not even the most troubling thing we've read, but like without Gladiator, with any other bad guy, if that was Ox, not Gladiator, D. I just have such intense Potter blinders that I'm gonna give, Melvin the pass, and I'm gonna say it's a C, so no Gladiator story gets below a C. Oh, hey, boyfriend.
Oh, he's so manly.
I just love him.
Just a little gladdy daddy.
It's my little Gladiator.
Me, who doesn't have those blinders as much yet, I think I'm actually in the same realm because I do kind of love the chaos of the second one.
Yeah.
Like there's a large part of me that's just like, we were in the ring and then we're breaking open our alien capsules and then we're fighting these guys who I really wish had been guys that we already knew, and then we're going to Italy and then we're fighting each other in the Colosseum, and then there's a lion and then we put the lion away and everybody's changing us all the stuff, and like I'm just like, yeah, no, like this is a wild ride and I don't really enjoy it, but I do appreciate the effort. And so what I would say is, oh man, just like on this week's Exits for podcast recording, I would say, see me after class. I'm intrigued and I think we can flesh this out for half credit. I'm
with you. I really am. I do know, however, that the big turning point here for me is that Karen is advancing her feels. That's a thing. Karen's no longer like, oh, but should I? She's a little bit more like, now's the moment, bro.
Yeah.
And that impatience is kind of sexy on her.
The impatience is sexy, and also like she's getting a little more confident in her confusion about Daredevil and Matt. Like she's a little more like, I feel like he is, but
yeah. I think
her being like, I don't know, like maybe.
Well, and I think one of the best things is that if she ever just saw Matt in, a pair of spandex, she would be like, oh no, that ass, yeah, I get it.
Except she did. She did. She saw him in the suit this time.
Okay, yeah, maybe she's the one who's blind. I don't know. Maybe she's got to get her vision fixed at a weird European vision clinic.
Think she's been writing to these eye doctors this whole time, and they're like, of course, Karen, we will see your blind friend, but can we talk about the fact that like your handwriting is this big?
I have woman blindness. It makes me do woman things in the 60s.
Thank God she has the subway, or else she wouldn't be able to drive.
I mean, I'm not even sure she knows how to get in the big tube car, so thank goodness there's a man to walk her onto it.
Jesus Christ. Why they do her so dirty, I will never know.
Man, I am really excited about doing this like letters page review now. Like already, I'm getting my pugilist ready. So I've loved this hour with you, Tori. This is just like one of the best things in the world. We get to look back, laugh, and love, and what's more fun than that? But Tori, until we get to talk more about DD Going Wild, where can everybody find you online?
I'll be at Tori_Sheehan on Instagram, at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I on, that one's on Instagram. The first one's on Twitter. Where can people find you, Nico?
Nico Action everywhere to make life a little bit easier because I got to have that branding, right? You guys can also find both of us over on the partner show to this, as well as our amazing producer and my incredible husband, Kevo, at X's for Podcast on Twitter and xsforpodcast.com, where you can find out all the latest and greatest. Also, that amazing art right there, just like all of the art on this show, is by Tori and Kevo, who do the line work and coloring together and make this show look even better than I could have ever dreamt. You guys can also find my original work over at KidRiotComics.com, where again I'm with these two amazing fuckers, and you can check out my other original work over in the Young Men in Love anthology, edited by Joe Glass and Matt Miner. It was a pleasure to be part of that book, and I'm going to keep promoting it until I can't speak because it was such an honor to be part of. And I believe there's a bunch of other awesome videos on this channel that you wouldn't want to miss. So don't forget, if you like what you saw, you should give us a like, you should give us a subscribe, make sure that you turn those notifications on. Yeah, hit that notification button. You want to hear those notifications. And I guess, Tori, until it's time to go wild again, there's literally only one fucking thing to do.
And that's...
Stay fearless.
Oh.
That's people getting it. Yeah.